Okay, I say we get started. Welcome everybody. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us. My name is Katie Earle, and I'm the coordinator of the University Express program, and I work for the Erie County Department of Senior Services. We're all joined here virtually today with Lori, Amy, and Gary. And before we get to their presentation, I just want to go over some few housekeeping things because we have some new folks here today. So I want to make sure we're all on the same page. First thing I want to let you know is this session is being recorded and we will post it online at a later date. Second thing, which I'm sure you've already noticed, is you've joined without a video of yourself showing and you're muted. You've done nothing wrong. That's just the settings for this program. And you might also think that you're the only person in here with us today, but I promise you there are other people, just that we're in an anonymous participation mode. So only Lori, Amy, and Gary and I are able to see everybody that's in here. So it's not just you, I promise. We will be participating and communicating using our Q&A panel today. So for some of you who joined, that may have popped right up on your screen, might be there on the right side, or you can access it by wiggling your mouse or poking and touching your screen, depending on your device. And at the bottom, you'll see your control panel. So you can click on a circle that has a square with a question mark in it. That'll bring it up or take it away. And if you don't see that button, you can click on the button that has 3 dots because that will give you more options, and then you should be able to select your Q&A panel. So feel free to send your questions and comments right when you think of them. We will be leaving questions and comments for the end, but type it in right away and click send so you don't forget. And the default's all panelists, so you can leave that alone because that will come to all of us. All right, so have fun, play around with it. We hope you participate. I want to thank the sponsors of our University Express program, which is our department at Erie County Senior Services, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Western New York, Excelsior Orthopedics, and Wegmans, because they help make this program possible. And I want to let you know that Senior Services is here if you have any questions or need any help with resources, benefits, supports, so you name it, please give us a call. We're 858-8526. And without further ado, I will introduce our speakers. So we have Amy Alduino. She's the Erie County Recycling Coordinator who provides outreach and education on recycling and waste reduction to businesses, residents, students, and communities. She recently worked with Erie County communities to create 10-year planning documents to manage solid waste and improve recycling and reuse in Erie County. We have Gary Carrel. He is a solid waste recycling specialist in the Erie County Department of Environment and Planning with responsibilities related to hazardous waste, waste reduction, and recycling. He provides information to both residents and departments within Erie County on ways to promote reuse, reduction, and recycling. And then, last but not least, we have Lori Caso. She's the Public Affairs Manager and spokesperson for Waste Management. She covers upstate New York. She's also the host of Lori and Friends, which is a cooking show seen on local cable. So maybe you recognize her, and I'm going to turn it over to them. Thanks again for joining us here, everyone.
Gary, can you go to again? Right here. You are here today because you care about recycling and you want to do it right. Unfortunately, recycling right has become harder. Recycling is more confusing than it used to be. When we started out, it was simple. BCPC, bottles, cans, paper, and cardboard. A major item in everyone's recycling was newspaper, and there really wasn't that much plastic. But times have changed, and many of the items that we buy at the supermarket are in different types of plastics. As you will learn, many of these plastics just aren't recycled at this time because they're too complicated. If they're multi-layered or if there's a new plastic mix, there is not a market for reuse of them. Certain plastics really have no end users who want to melt it down again and make it into another plastic material. The economics of plastic as well keep things from being recycled because right now virgin plastic, and because of fracking, is very, very cheap. So it's much cheaper to use new plastic to make new plastic from chemicals than it is to recycle plastic. And finally, some things aren't recycled because of the systems we use to sort materials at recycling centers, and Lori will tell you more about that. Next slide, please. So, you know how sometimes you solve a problem and create a new one on the way? Well, that happened in recycling. We wanted more recycling, so we switched to a system where you combined all of your recycled materials in the same bin. Then we encouraged you to do your part and recycle more. And then we even gave you bigger bins. So people took us up on that challenge and started putting all sorts of things that should or they wished could be recycled into the bin. The problem is that some of the stuff we now put in our recycle bins has no value, and some of the stuff actually hurts the recycling process. So in the no not ever list for the bin, there are plastic bags, anything that tangles, garden hoses, rope, light strings, hangers, take out plastics, the clamshells and things like that. Take out coffee cups and lids, anything styrofoam, be it an egg carton or anything like that, peanuts, not recyclable. Also, we all have masks, gloves, and PPE, and while it would be nice if they were recyclable, they're not, they're trash. And finally, glass things like light bulbs and mirrors and glass things and ceramics, not recyclable in the bin. So just don't put them in there. Next slide, please. One of the confusing parts about recycling is the symbols. I mean, what do the symbols really mean? And the unfortunate part is that the labeling that is done now by a lot of companies is done to confuse you and make you feel better about buying a product because you think it can be recycled. This is done on purpose. Having a recycling symbol or a number 1 through 7 or a chasing arrow doesn't mean the item can or actually is recycled. So what we're going to say today is don't learn the numbers or turn things over to look for the symbol. You need to keep it simple. And simply, there are some things that just belong in and some things that don't. And now I'm going to turn it over to Lori, and Lori will speak to you about what recycling actually is and what materials are being recycled today.
Well, I'm encouraged that this many people are with us on this beautiful day because you're very, very concerned about recycling. And most of us have been recycling since the 1970s, so we grew up recycling. In 2017, China was taking 25% of all the world's recyclable materials, 50% of all the plastics. Unfortunately, what was happening is all this contamination was put in with the recyclables. And now China takes no more of our recyclables, none, okay? It leaves us with an awful lot of commodity and not a lot of places that are recycling here in the United States. So now all of a sudden, since the 1970s, when we've been telling you recycle, 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 now we're saying recycle, but recycle right. In waste management, our motto this year is recycle often, but recycle right. And it's more important for you to recycle right than it is how much. Now, this is what I think is funny. Most people that are so serious about recycling are more likely to put the wrong things in your recycle bin, because those people that are really into this are more likely to be wish cyclers. And Amy talked about that a lot. We wish that could be recycled. We wish. If we simply stick with some very, very basics in recycling, paper, cardboard, clean aluminum cans, paper, cardboard, clean aluminum cans, and some plastics. If we just focused on those, we would be so much better off and ahead of the game. What's happening is people feel everything should be recycled now. And Amy brought up a really good point. She talked about those chasing arrows. Well, people in the waste industry or the recycling industry aren't putting those. People are putting those on everything, things that we know are not recyclable. Sometimes they're putting them on products that are made from recyclable materials, and people are getting confused, can that be recycled again? Now, newspapers can be recycled over and over again. Some plastics can, but after a while, certain things can no longer be recycled over and over and over again. It is very, very important that you recycle often, but recycle right. And you're going to hear me say over and over, that's your paper, your newspapers, your cardboard, any kind of papers like that, your junk mail. We welcome all of that. But Lori, what about the junk mail that comes in plastic? Please take it out of the plastic and then put it in your recycle bins. One question that came in earlier from all of this is, well, my truck is coming to pick me up and your driver is just putting everything in one place. All right. So you're not recycling it. You're just throwing it out. It's headed to a landfill, and that's not true. In the waste industry now, we often have trucks that have one side for recycling, or the back for recycling, and the side for trash. And this is just to help us get one truck out there on the route to be able to get all of your needs taken care of at once. It helps our carbon footprint. It helps us just have one driver. So no, if you're seeing somebody put your entire bin in there and just throw it in, it's because the United States is dedicated to single stream recycling, okay? And all my friends that have been to Europe say, well, that's not how they do it there. No, it's not. But here, we single stream recycle everything. And I think that you'll have a better idea about single stream recycling once my buddy Gary plays you our little animated video that shows you what goes on at a MRF, and that is a materials recycling facility. Gary, you want to try that? Because I think that people would have a much better idea if they saw this.
I think that is a great idea, and let's hope I can do it. Are you somebody? Are you seeing it? Okay.
I'm seeing it.
All right.
I'm hearing it.
Recycling process makes recycling easy.
I'm not hearing the audio, guys. It might just be me, but we lost it somehow.
No.
Recyclables are first pre-sorted.
All right, wait. So you weren't hearing the audio?
No.
I lost it for a second.
Can you start it again, Gary?
Yeah, I'll start it again.
Thank you.
All right. You're hearing it now?
Stream recycling makes recycling even easier at home or in the office. Common bottles, cans, and paper are placed in one bin for collection and then transported to the local single-stream recycling facility. Collection trucks are weighed and then backed into a tipped floor where materials are unloaded, inspected, and stored before entering the conveyor system. Recyclables are first pre-sorted to remove items that cannot be recycled in a single-stream facility. Items like plastic bags can shut down an entire recycling plant. If it's not bottles, cans, or paper, it probably doesn't belong in your curbside mixed recycling bin and may even require special handling. Check with your city or local service provider if you have any questions about what is accepted in your Next, the stream crosses over a series of screens that separate from bottles and cans. A conveyor screen skims off cardboard boxes into large storage bunkers. The bunkers store different recyclables before they go through a final inspection, then off to being turned into recycled objects. Paper is pulled off the belt through agitators and sent to a separate conveyor for quality sorting before being baled and shipped to market. The remaining paper passes over additional conveyor systems for sorting into bunkers, baled, and shipped to manufacturers to become new products. Steel items like cans are removed by magnets. The remaining items are run through optical scanners with an infrared light that identifies different types of plastics. Computerized jets of air shoot water bottles, milk jugs, and detergent bottles into separate bunkers. Remember to wash all plastic containers before putting them in the recycle bin. An eddy current gives the aluminum cans a negative charge. They are repelled into a dedicated chute, then to a bunker for storage before baling. Large quantities of each separated material are then compacted into bales. Bales are moved to a finished product storage area where they are checked for quality. Each material is distributed to various manufacturers around based on demand for recycled products. Single-stream recycling can improve residential participation to about 40%. You can do your part by ensuring that only recyclable items into your recycling bin.
Hopefully that gave you a better idea on what it's like when something heads off from your bin to the MRF. And what's happening is you're going from your bin, whether it's a little bin or it's a big tote, it's being picked up, it's headed to a transfer station. And this is regardless whether you're using Waste Management or one of our competitors. They're picking it up in the truck and they're bringing it to a transfer station. From the transfer station, it's being taken to a MRF, a materials recycling facility, which you just saw. Now, what helps us is if you put the right things in there. Logistically, it looks like 1 in 4 items in every recycle bin is wrong. And people will think, well, my Christmas lights, they're plastic, right, Lori? So can't we put these in here? Christmas lights, garden hoses, plastic bags cause a lot of problems in MRFs. They're called tanglers. In an average MRF, it has to be stopped every 45 minutes where a person goes in there and untangles the things from the whole system to make the system work. And that's just not effective. It's not time effective for anybody. So if we can get people to simply put the right things in their recycle bin, paper, cardboard, clean aluminum cans, heavy plastics, and things that are clean. You heard the woman on the video say clean items. I want you to think that everything that you put in your recycle bin should be able to sit there for 30 days and not attract rodents or insects or have a bad smell to it. All of this helps with the recycling process. The number one thing we find in pizza boxes, which really aren't recyclable, is what? Amy, do you want to answer that? What's the number one thing we find in pizza boxes?
Slices of pizza.
Thank you very much. We deal with an awful lot of food contamination in recycle bins. And now with the people that are watching, part of us today, you're saying to yourself, well, I wouldn't do that. No, you probably wouldn't. Not if you're serious about recycling. But it's amazing how many people do. We find more bowling balls in our recycle bins. No, they're not recyclable. We find scary things like propane tanks in there. Earlier when we were talking, somebody asked the question, could your bin ever be rejected by the driver if the driver sees an awful lot of contamination in the bin, such as a little propane tank that came off of your gas grill, or different tanglers that he knows are going to cause a problem, he or she knows it's going to cause a problem. Yes, they can reject it. They absolutely can. Some of those things are downright frightening and could hurt the driver. Anytime you have something that's combustible and you put it in your bin, and I know Gary will probably talk a little bit that you can't put household hazardous waste in there. You shouldn't be putting that in your garbage either. Many of these things can cause problems for our drivers. And then again, at the MRF, these are unsafe things. So if we can focus on safe recyclables, paper, plastics, and when we talk about plastics, I don't want you to think numbers anymore. I want you to think weight, all right? So when you pick up your laundry detergent bottle, you know that that's got some weight to it. When there it is right there with my next slide, you've got some weight to it. When you pick up your shampoo bottle, it's a thicker plastic, all recyclable, okay? So I don't want you to be hung up on numbers. I want you to think weights with plastics, papers, cardboards, clean aluminum cans, and some plastics. Now, what we're looking at right now, they were challenging me with this slide the other day, and they said, how many things here are recyclable? Now, you're going to hear my friend Gary talk about reduce, reuse, and recycle. And recycle is the third in that process. So many of the things that you're looking at right now could be reused. The Fisher-Price slide that we see over in the screen there, that's something, can it be recycled? Yeah, it can. But would it be better to clean up something like that, disinfect it, and donate it to a local nursery school, daycare center? That's what I did with mine. Because recycling is all about reusing something over and over again. So it's not a one-time use. So when we look at this picture and they said, what could be recycled? All of those plastics can be recycled. They're all heavy. Think about it. That one laundry bin that we're seeing in the back there, absolutely. But could somebody use that before it gets sent to a recycling place? So we need to put all of that into the equation. What can we reuse as we go to do this? Now take the couch back there. I don't know what that couch looks like. I don't know if it's got holes in it. I don't know what it is, but could somebody use that? Because if not, it's garbage. And that's something else we have to face, that some of the stuff, the chairs, many of that, just garbage, okay? And I don't want you to feel guilty about throwing away garbage, because if you're recycling the right things, you're doing more to help the environment overall, okay? And I'm gonna turn it over to you, Gary.
A quick question for Lori before that. Now, I've heard there's some real problems with lithium batteries in recycled trucks. Can you talk about that?
Well, because any type of battery is not reusable in that way. That's a household hazardous waste. That would be something that you would bring to an HHW day. No, we don't want that in the stream. We don't want that in your garbage either. We want batteries to go to a household hazardous waste day or a drop off in your community. And I don't know where the people are that are watching this, but every municipality offers household hazardous waste drop off, either days or a place where you can make an appointment to go in. Don't want batteries, don't want pool cleaners, don't want anything that's a hazardous waste in your trash or in your recycle bin.
Well, that is a perfect setup for me to start. And I will mention that Erie County has been holding household hazardous waste collections for 20 plus years, 25 years, more than 25 years. Just this year, just a couple of months ago, we started a new program. We've partnered with a local hazardous waste collection facility, Hazman in Tonawanda, and you can now bring up to 50 pounds of household hazardous waste at your convenience per their hours to their facility and drop off the materials rather than waiting for one of our collection days. Some of you on the call may have been to our collection days in the past. You could wait, I'm sorry to say this, 2 to 3 hours to drop off your waste. So in the last couple of years, we've changed that up. We now have a reservation-only system, so your wait should be 20 minutes to a half hour from start to finish. But even that, a few years ago, we did a study about the program, and one of the biggest complaints was, well, you do it 2 or 3 times a year, and how is that servicing the community? So that's one of the reasons why we came up with this program. So we'll encourage everybody to go to, and we'll show this at the end, our website, erie.gov, where you can find out more about our hazardous waste collection events and also this new program. So Lori, thank you for that, allowing me to give a little commercial there for our new program. Because we are really excited about it. I can't tell you the number of calls that I would get. Well, I can't make it that day, or, you know, I'm in town because a relative passed away and I'm cleaning out their house, and this really does solve that. So we're so glad to be able to offer that. Because in the past, I'd have to say, well, maybe you could find somebody to bring it for you on that day. All right, so my part here today, and again, Amy and Lori, great stuff. I had all sorts of questions, but I kept them to myself because I know other people will ask questions. But as Lori noted, reduce and reuse. As we all know, it's reduce, reuse, and recycle. That recycle is the third R. Now, it's important. You've heard how important it is, but it's the third R. It's the first two that we really have to think about, and it's really going to help to make some positive changes. But of course, right now, we're in the middle of this pandemic and dealing with all the problems related to that. Is it safe? Can we reuse? We've been going, back to doing more takeout and things like that. And of course, the complaints that I was getting in February was, wait, I have to bring my own bag to the store. I'm going to lose our plastic bags. Well, that certainly went by the wayside. No one was worried about that. But I just wanted to, I'm just going to read a little bit from this memo. See, I have a memo here about, and this is specific to plastic bags, but it's plastic in general. And again, I am not a doctor. I'm just providing some information that's out there. Things do change on a pretty regular basis. So this is a couple of months ago, but the actual half-life of the coronavirus on fabrics is uncertain. However, studies indicate that viruses and bacteria last longer on non-porous surfaces such as plastic than they do on natural fibers. And then this goes on to talk about, so here, I always have my hand sanitizer with me. I think that's something that, everyone has to feel very comfortable. If you're, you have to do what feels the most comfortable, what you feel the most safe with. What I'm just letting you know is that, there's lots of nuances here, and if you wash your hands and you hand sanitize, you're going a long way to protect yourself. So I'll just read this last sentence of this memo. Industry efforts to suspend and undo state and local bag laws have no basis in science and are merely scare tactics to advance their agenda during a severe public health crisis, and that's attributed to a study. During these uncertain times, the public, businesses, and policymakers alike should employ good sanitary practices across the board, not implement policy decisions based on fear or absence of data. So we're just saying, look into this. And one of the things I'll just mention that has come up from living in this pandemic is that we are doing a lot more takeout. So if you're ordering takeout to come to your home, which in most cases we are, please tell them you do not need that plasticware. There is just no reason. You're going to end up throwing it away. You're probably not going to use it anyways. If you're going somewhere, of course, I would advocate just bringing your reusable utensils with you, that you never need the plasticware. But if you need it, if you're going somewhere and you're out of the house, you need it, go ahead. But if you're just home doing some takeout, just tell them, I don't need that stuff. I don't even need the napkins. I can supply all that. And that's just what we're talking about. You've got to do your best to reduce, what we're really talking about. What we're really talking about is just not creating as much garbage, whether it's plain old garbage or even recycling. And Lori has let us know, and Amy, that not all this plastic we see, is recyclable. So that's another thing. When you're at the store, as a consumer, you can make that decision. You can say, okay, I'm not going to buy this, or I'm going to let the store know, can't you offer this in a different container? Now, remember, right now, a lot of the bulk items sections have been put on hold. And again, this is what's going on right now. That's reality, and that's good. They're going to put that on hold. Some of that stuff they sell in containers. We'd have to defer to Lori to see how heavy those containers are, but I have a feeling that they are not terribly recyclable, but a lot of them might be reusable. So, do your best to reuse these things as much as possible. Amy, is that a plastic bag monster? Is that what that is down there in this picture?
Well, that is a plastic bag shark. Some of our kids, some of our amazing students in Erie County, as part of our pollution prevention through art and science program.
That's what I thought. That's very cool. So that's a shark made out of plastic bags, and it looks like a plastic cup maybe for the teeth. So that was part of a program we had kids collected single-use bags for a month to see how much their families used, and then they made art out of it. And oh my gosh, some of this stuff was so amazing. We had to put the whole program on hold this year, but last year we had some just amazing art that was viewed at the Buffalo Museum of Science. So that's our message there. So, as much as possible, I always like to talk about the library, which most of the libraries are open again now, that, you know, that's the best place for reuse. You go, you check out a book or a DVD or a video, music, you listen to it, and then you can take it back. So you've eliminated it, you know, all of that waste. And there are tool lending libraries, like, you know, so that's another way. Or you could borrow something from a neighbor. So there's lots of ways to do reuse, and which ultimately reduces, you know, our impact on the environment. All right, so now we want to talk about some resources that are available. You'll see down at the bottom of the slide there is our recycling webpage, erie.gov/recycling. And that is where you can find more information on our hazardous waste program. Also, we have a list of items that are not recyclable in your curbside recycling. So, you know, from electronics to fluorescent light bulbs, oil, tires, you know, all these things that people have the need to properly dispose of. So that's one source. And then now we have partnered with this company called Recycle Coach. And actually, Amy, I'm going to ask you to just talk a little bit more about Recycle Coach, because it is your baby.
Okay, so with Recycle Coach, what we have is we have something personalized for you. And you can either use it as a web application, or you can download the Recycle Coach app on your smartphone. And you'll get a personalized pickup schedule, alerts, a calendar of events for all sorts of recycling and special use and special events like a HHW or an e-waste collection event. And also there's an Ask Milo search engine. And what we've done is will be personalized for your community. So, you know, different towns or different cities have different ways of dealing with certain materials, and the search engine should get you to the right answer. So we're very excited about being able to offer that to you. And we are rolling that out by the end of this month.
And what is cool about that is that each municipality will have their own version of Recycle Coach. And that really gets back also to what Lori was saying and to what we've all been saying about knowing exactly what is accepted in your community's recycling program, whether it's being picked up by Waste Management or another company. Everybody has a menu. And that's what's so important, you know, to follow that menu, to know what's recyclable, or maybe more importantly, to know what is not recyclable. So all of the Recycle Coach will be an option. And again, going back to our website, erie.gov/recycling, we have an area where you can go right to your municipality's recycling page. So you don't have to go searching for it. You can find it right from our website. It'll be, a lot of the pages end up going actually right back to Waste Management because they're servicing a lot of our communities. But it's really important to know that. And you know, Lori mentioned when we were talking about this, people recycling their K-cups. So those are not recyclable. So of course, personally, I would say, you know, just make a big pot of coffee, but of course I drink a big pot of coffee, so that's not a problem. But so you're taking the time, you're you know, digging the coffee out of that container, you're rinsing that container, that's not getting recycled. So that's why it's so important to know, you know, exactly what's going on. And that leads us to that recyclingraccoons.org. That's not a New York State thing, but it's really a fun website with a lot of with these cute raccoons that are telling everybody what is and isn't recyclable in that community. And like I said, so you know they have, you can see that, but they have there, and all the raccoons are there. Here's their little thing: know before you throw it. You know, so that's really our point here, to know what to do with this stuff, and that really, again, goes back to this. I mean, there's so many of these items that, can be shared or can be reused if at all possible. And Lori, I love what you said about that slide. I get a lot of calls about paint. People, everybody wants to get rid of their paint, and mostly latex paint, we do not accept it at the hazardous waste collection. And I tell people, if you know it's in good shape and you have 2 or 3 gallons, find a school or an arts program that you can donate those items to. Again, make sure that it's, the paint is usable. Sometimes if you leave it in your garage and it's frozen, then it really is just garbage. By the way, you just dry that out and make sure it's dry, then you can throw that out in your regular garbage. So lots of resources out there. And there's one other slide that I should have asked that we add that I forgot. I did want to address plastic bags, because there's still, even though we're seeing the use of plastic bags at retail stores being phased out, there's still plenty of plastic bags and plastic wrap. All those things can be recycled at your local retailer, whether it's the grocery store or the drugstore. They all have the containers, right, usually near the front for plastic. And the real key is, as long as it's stretchable plastic. So if you can rip that plastic, like that plastic film, then just throw that away. But if it's stretchable, like a t-shirt bag, like the bags we get from the store, then those can all be taken, or your newspaper bag. That's another good example for when they deliver the newspaper in the rain. Those can all go right back to the retail store. As soon as you put those in your recycling bin, you've just increased the cost of recycling, honestly, because as you saw from the video, there's the MRF where that plastic wraps around everything. Sometimes they have to, or not sometimes, they have to stop production, stop everything. And in some places, Lori, I don't know about it, Waste Management, but they actually have to lower people down, like on a harness, so they get in there and pull out all this plastic. So every time you throw some plastic into your recycling bin, it's increasing the cost, which is bad for everybody. So that's just my little film plastic bag. Amy, I should have had you put a film plastic slide in there. So sorry for my little commercial, but I had to do it.
I think these poor people that have to go in and clean out the plastic bags could get another career with Cirque du Soleil, because
Really?
putting them in some really bad positions and to detangle it. It is really important that you don't put plastic bags in your recycling.
Yeah, and even don't put your recycling in plastic bags, because even
that's big. Yes.
Just throw it in the container. And Amy, you talked about the big bins, and I always like seeing the big bins. I want big recycling bins and tiny little garbage cans, but you're right, it encourages the wrong stuff to get thrown in there. So, we so appreciate everyone being here and wanting to learn about this. And so speaking of that, we should probably go to questions. Is that right, Katie?
Yeah, we have a couple questions that came through. I'm happy to read them, or if you want to pull them up, that's so much really wonderful information that I'm even digesting. So if folks want to take a second, and while we answer the questions we have here, if others come through, I know I have a ton myself, but one of the first ones that came through was, so would a 32-ounce container from yogurt be okay to recycle if it's a little bigger than the small ones?
Lori?
The answer to that is yes, but now I say that, and I know that some of the other waste companies are not taking any kind of yogurt containers. I've heard them say that. If it's one of the bigger ones, or your ricotta cheese container or something like that, yes, make sure it's cleaned. It's not super desirable though. You're looking for your paper, your cardboard, very, very desirable. And we have this, I should say this is a disclaimer. We're talking about this today in July in 2020. If somebody comes up with a great idea on how to recycle K-cups 2 years from now, then by all means, we'll be telling you to do that. Recycling has changed because China is no longer taking all of our plastics, okay? So now, can you do that? But those little flimsy Yogurt containers, the single serve ones, no, they're trash.
But you know what? Buying the bigger container of yogurt is exactly part of reducing, because at least, you know, you're buying one container that you're getting, you know, 4 or 5 servings out of rather than 5 separate. So that in and of itself is already a better thing to do, whether or not it's recyclable.
And those are the containers that I freeze my soups in and my sauce when I make it. So just because, you know, you can get another reuse out of those by putting different things in them. I keep all of my single serve containers when I get the takeout, clean them out. And then when I send something home with somebody, leftovers for a kid or a neighbor or whatever, I've got a whole cupboard full of these that I use again.
Yeah,
Wow.
great. Yes, I love that.
Oh, goodness, those are great ideas. The next question is again about something being recycled. Are empty spray paint cans recyclable?
Those are aerosol. And those, I would say that you could, Gary, help me out here, because are you going to consider those a household hazardous waste? I know they're not recyclable, but should they be in your regular trash?
Yeah, well, we will definitely accept them at our household hazardous waste, and I'd rather take them at those programs than see people throw them in their trash. I know at one point there was some attempt to recycle those if they were empty, but the problem is you didn't know if they were empty and they were blowing up in trucks. So, but yes, at a hazardous waste collection, there's a special way of handling them. They're prepared for things to potentially have a little bit of extra boom in them. So yes, keep them out of the recycling, bring them to us at a hazardous collection.
Okay, thank you. So next question is, will Recycle Coach be available in other counties?
Not in any nearby counties yet. They would have to, we purchased a subscription for all of Erie County. So that's why we're able to personalize it. So you can get Recycle Coach, but you won't get the personalization of, you can look at the website and see some of the information, but you will not be able to get the personalized stuff if you're not in Erie County.
Okay,
But
thank
I mean,
you.
you can't educate yourself on this. If you're in another county and you're watching this, I live in Niagara County. Just about every county offers what Erie County does. And
Right.
your municipality, I have a little paper here that would tell you what's acceptable recycling, okay? And you can usually get onto any of your municipality's websites and find this. And it's not telling you what you can't, it's telling you what you can. So if you stick to the list of this is approved, you know, we want you to put in your junk mail, your telephone books, your catalogs, computer paper. We want you to put in juice bottles, beer bottles. We want you to see, this is not obviously New York State because we know that you've already made a 5-cent donation for the bottle bill there. So we know anything that you've made a deposit on, hopefully you are returning to the store to get your 5 cents back. Clean pet food cans, okay? If you're cleaning out any of your aluminum cans, that's good. Vegetable cans, soup cans. Normally, every municipality has a little list like this. And if you just go and look at it, you can educate yourself on what's proper to go into the recycle bin.
And Niagara County has a great website. It has the website itself is a very catchy name, but Lori, do you happen to remember it? It's like, I can't remember, but it's like know what to recycle or something like that. It's very catchy. When I saw it, I said, oh, I should have grabbed that. But,
it's something that my friend Dawn Tim puts together. So yes, and they'll answer questions the same way that Erie County will, as I'm sure any of the other counties that are watching us right now. You've got a person that's just like Amy and Gary that will help you in your county.
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Well, that's great to know. Thank you. Next question, great information. What about light bulbs and VCR tapes? That's going back.
So yeah, well, the regular incandescent light bulbs, the ones that we all grew up with, those are just garbage. There's no recycling of them. The compact fluorescent light bulbs, the squiggly ice cream cone ones, those should be properly disposed of, and most Home Depots and Lowe's accept those. I think New York State actually made a deal with those companies, and they're usually right at the customer service area. They have a container for them for the compact fluorescent. To my understanding, an LED light bulb is not hazardous, so there's no reason, there's nothing to recycle or to recover from an LED. And I suppose none of us have had to even throw an LED out, right? Because they last for like 10 years or something. And then fluorescent light bulbs, the the long ones or the curvy ones. You see how I use my hands all the time. I can't help it. There are a number of companies that will take those. Usually it's something like 5 cents a foot. So, there's a little cost involved in that. Again, erie.gov/recycling, we have a list there. And again, as Lori said, I'm sure other municipalities have that information.
And we have a program called Lamp Tracker that does that, but that's for when you're using, and a lot of times it's businesses with all of those big fluorescent light bulbs, and you normally have a number of those. Those are hazardous waste. A household hazardous waste or an industrial hazardous waste, they do not belong in your recycle bin.
Absolutely not. And yeah, right. Businesses have to follow a whole different set of rules. We do not collect fluorescent bulbs at our hazardous waste collections, primarily because they break so easily and we create more problems. But there are places that will take them, and Lori is 100% right. They're hazardous, and you should not throw them out, and certainly not put them in your recycling.
Katie, I saw that we missed a question up there, and I really want to address it. And it looks like this gentleman is asking about his cardboard. And because cardboard is such a great commodity, and we want to see you recycling your cardboard, and it looks like he said, what if I put clear plastic over it? Please don't do that, because now all of a sudden you've defeated the whole purpose. We don't want plastic like that mixed with your cardboard. Make sure your cardboard is clean and dry. And if it doesn't fit in your tote and you put it broken down next to your tote, I'm speaking for my company, but really for all the waste industry companies, I see that that's picked up all the time, okay? If you think it's going to rain that night, then please put your cardboard out in the morning. That's with your recycles. So many people, I have one of those little bins that's open. So I throw out my recyclables to the curb that morning so that they're not getting wet, because yeah, that is a problem. The minute you get wet cardboard, it's just not as valuable anymore. So I understand what that gentleman wants to do. He wants to protect the cardboard, which is worth something. You'd be better off to bring it out there before your garbage man gets there, so it's clean and dry, because cardboard definitely recyclable.
So Lori, what about tape on the boxes? Do we have to worry about that?
I always take mine off, because when I break it down, I'm taking the tape off to break it down. Of course, the tape is garbage and it's never going to be part of it. I just find that the purer my product is that I'm giving to recycling, the more that it's worth. It has more value to it. So I would tell you to take the tape off of it. I'm not telling you got to take labels off of things. Not that crazy. Okay. Like your cans and everything, rinse out your cans so that they're not attracting bugs or anything, but you don't have to take your labels off. Popular question I'm always asked: if you do put one of your water bottles in, which you should be getting your 5 cents back on your water bottles, but what about that little cap? Okay, you can put the little cap on your bottle, that's fine. What it's not worth is if you take that little cap that went on the bottle and you throw it to the bottom of your tote, then it's garbage. Okay.
Okay, thank you. We had the second follow-up question about the VCR tape.
Oh, yeah.
What are those?
Boy, those are tough. I don't know, Lori, if you have an answer, but I know locally there's a company, the company I mentioned earlier that we have partnered with, Hasman. They do take them, at a cost and recycle them. There's a few companies around the country that take them, but of course you'd have to box them and ship them somewhere. So that would be my suggestion. It's HAZMANUSA.com to check out how they deal with that stuff. But that is one local place that you can take them. I'm not saying there aren't any others, but that is the only one I know about.
Yeah, that's a specialized waste. I wouldn't put that in my recycle bin. No.
Oh, it'll definitely get thrown out if you put it in your recycle bin. And it might really mess up, all that tape. I don't know.
Maybe some of them should be gotten rid of too. Just saying. Home movies.
Oh, thank you. And Lori, thanks for catching that cardboard comment, because that didn't come up for me. So it might be helpful if you could all maybe pull up your Q&A panels, because I want to make sure we're not missing anything. The next question I'm seeing is, why not pizza boxes? They're cardboard.
Oh, if I had a nickel for every time somebody wants to talk pizza boxes with me. Okay. Why not pizza boxes? Theoretically, pizza boxes, the top of them, if you want to cut off the top of your pizza box and put it with cardboard, yes, you can do that. The bottom of your pizza box, unless it's a virgin pizza box and it does not have oils in it, or that little piece of paper, that wax paper that they put in it, yes. And I know you're all going to say to me right now, but on the website, it tells me pizza boxes. Okay. But pizza boxes are truly not being recycled. Just the tops of them can be, because normally they have pizza in them. They have grease on them, which doesn't make it a viable product anymore. A lot of times we see those little table things in there too, even though they're plastic. And this is the way people think, well, this little table thing is plastic. I'm going to throw this in here in my pizza box. And all you're doing is really creating garbage. Okay.
Yeah, and Barbie can use those tables.
What did I say the other day? That you're supposed to hold on to that while you pull the pizza away? That's the real reason for that, other than it not sticking to the top? Oh, and if cheese has stuck to the top of your pizza box, then no, not recyclable, right. Not even the top anymore, okay?
Yeah, so again, it's sort of a judgment, which is part of the reason why, the list says pizza boxes, because it's hard to, express judgment. But if you see that it's a clean box, great, recycle it or rip off the top. But that it's a hard one.
I'm sure. Okay, last question that I'm seeing for right now is, what about old books? Donated some, but can we recycle the rest?
Lori, I'm going to let you answer that.
Well, yeah, in the same way that you can recycle, telephone books and everything. Yeah, books are paper. You can recycle books. I hate throwing books out. I hate even the thought of books being recycled. I think that there's so many other places we can send. It looks like this person has donated books in the past. Absolutely. And I'm a big friend of my library. So I often save my books and give them to the library for their book sales so that they can make a few extra dollars, whether they're paperbacks or hardcovers. Yes, they can be recycled.
And there are a number of organizations that hold those book sales, so that would be the, again, the first choice is try to find an organization to donate them to. But what if it's a hardcover? Would you have to pull out the pages to recycle it?
You're putting me on the spot here. My gut is telling me that it can be recycled, but I don't see a lot of those, because hardcovers, once again, we're back to reusing them. If you've got a hardcover book, there's probably a good chance that somebody would want that.
Okay. Yeah, good answer. Good answer.
Oh, well, thank you for your time and for answering all of those. That's all the questions that I'm seeing. So folks, maybe we just wait a couple seconds. If you have any burning questions right now and you want to type it in, Just remember to click send, or it's just going to be hanging out in that text box right there. But I'm so
Oh, I see.
appreciative for
A
your
question
time.
just came up, and we can't get away without talking about glass. Okay? I thought I was through. I thought I wasn't going to have to talk about glass. Okay. Glass. In New York State right now, glass is still considered a recyclable commodity. Okay. We follow the guidelines from the DEC, the Department of Environmental Conservation, and they consider glass to be recyclable. Is it a hot commodity? No. Is it a strong commodity? No. And I give everybody, every place that I go to talk about recycling asks me this. Once you throw your glass, whatever kind of glass it is, whether it's a wine bottle, whether it's a jar sauce bottle, you've thrown it in your tote. Now it goes from the tote into the truck, from the truck to the transfer station, to the transfer station floor, where it's being taken by a forklift onto another truck that takes it to the MRF, the materials recycling facility. What are the chances of that little bottle of, ragu sauce that you put in there is going to be in one piece? Not great. So any glass that's broken is garbage. And please don't put broken glass in your recycle bin, because that tends to hurt people. The best way to recycle glass is to return it to the place where you get your glass. Now, this is always where I say, if you really want to be dedicated, I still have a milkman. I get my milk delivered every Wednesday in glass bottles from the dairy that's in Niagara County. I'm sure you've got dairies all over the place. That's one place. Let me tell you, that milk is the best. And I know that my glass is being recycled because we're taking it back into the dairy and they're sterilizing it, and I get more back. That doesn't happen other than in specialized areas like a dairy. In many other states, they have already taken glass off of that commodity list. If you're in Pennsylvania and certain big cities, a couple of years ago, glass was taken from the recycling line there. Okay. So glass is one of those iffy things.
I'd like
go ahead, Amy.
talk a little bit about glass too. Glass in your recycle bin really has no value. Glass returned through the bottle bill is made into new bottles and has value. One of the things that is occurring right now in the New York State Legislature there are two bills to expand the bottle bill to include wine bottles and liquor bottles and have deposits on those so that they can be in the deposit return system. And we are supporting that so that that glass can become glass again. Because the thing about glass is that you can keep melting it down and making it glass over and over again, but it has to be source separated. So that we would like to get as much as possible source separated by you through the bottle bill, and that is what we are working towards.
And the other thing I was going to say is that with the glass breaking in your recycling, it also contaminates everything else. So it actually, it reduces the benefits of the other materials that we're recycling. I'm right about that, Lori, right? The glass, that's another reason it's a problem. And it's also on the equipment. Mm-hmm. It's all that broken glass. So, I mean, that's discouraging to hear. I understand that. But we know that you attending today are really interested in doing the right thing. So Lori, is that Hoover Dairy that delivers?
And they have the best chocolate milk that I've ever had. Yes, we wait for that quart of chocolate milk come because it's whole milk. My dad was a dairy farmer, so I'm very, very pro. That was just my little pro dairy farmer, the guys with the cows type things. I love
my mom. My mom was a Hoover. So.
Oh, see, yep.
Yeah. So when you mentioned that, they're one of the few dairies in the country that still delivers milk. So you're lucky.
I am lucky.
Oh, that chocolate milk sounds so good. So just quickly, Gary, can you get that website again, please, for the VCR tapes? I didn't catch it, and we have someone asking.
It's HAZMANUSA.com. And the other place I know of is called Green Disc, GREENDISK, I guess, greendisc.com. Try. That would be a place you'd have to ship it.
Okay. Perfect. We have one comment and one question. Can we do one more question? Is that all right with you?
Sure.
All right. What about a molded plastic mailbox? It's broken.
Sure.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah. Take your mail out of it.
Well, that was easy.
That's fine.
Okay. And the comment we have is, thank you, very informative, and we learned a lot.
Terrific. It was a pleasure. And Amy and Lori, thank you so much for all your information. And Katie, for keeping us going. We appreciate it. And for putting this all together.
Yeah. I just wish I could have seen everybody, you know, with the participants. I really miss the interaction when we go and do these at places. Maybe next year we can come and do it in person. I'm hoping.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not the same, but the next best thing for now.
Yeah.
But again, thank you for your time, for sharing your expertise, and for the folks that tuned in, thank you. We hope you had a good time. And I'm going to stop.